So in today's class, we are trying to discuss about the control statements, or we use it to call them as loops. Okay, so what is the control statement basically? So when we wanted to perform some specific action and we wanted to apply the conditions. So based upon the condition, if we wanted to perform any action or if we wanted to write any statement, that is called control statement. Okay, earlier we have written the statement inside the methods. Now what I'm trying to tell you is there is a statement that you are writing, but that statement will be executed based upon the condition. So condition based statements are called control statements. Okay, so we will write the statements, but the statements will be executed based upon the conditions that we are providing. That is called the control statements, right? So what are the different control statements that we have and when to use which control statement, that we'll try to discuss. Okay, so we'll start with the creating new Java project. Okay, so in this project, I will give this control statements demo and click finish. And this is project created src, here new class, okay, demo, and package com.demo. Okay, package name is com.demo and the class is demo.java. So we have created one class. So now we will try to discuss about the what are the different control statements that we have, when to use which control statement, that we'll try to discuss, right? The first one we will start with is if condition, and second one is else. First one is if, and the second one is else, and third one is else if, and fourth one is for, and fifth one is switch, and next one is why. So these are the different control statements. So these are the four different types of the control statement. One is if, else, else if, and the next one is for, and next one is while, and next one is switch. So these are the control statements. So now we'll try to discuss about what is if and when to use the if condition, right? So when I say if condition, so if condition will use to apply one or more conditions to execute the specific statement. So how we can apply one or more conditions? We can use the logical operators. Those logical operators are and are. Okay, so these two are the logical statement that we will use to execute it. For example, I have one condition. What is the condition? Basically, I have int x equals to 10, and I wanted to add, or I wanted to perform the addition operation when x is greater than or equals to y. So now I have written two variables, int x equals to 10 and int y equals to 20. So now what I'm trying to do is I wanted to perform the addition operation, that is statement. Again, int z equals to x plus y, that is statement. But that statement has to be executed based upon the condition. So what is the condition that I'm trying to say? If y is greater than or equals to x, then only you can execute, otherwise you don't execute, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm adding the if condition, x is less than or equals to y, or y greater than or equals to x. So then only you can perform int z equals to x plus y. System.out.println z. But what I am doing is I'm giving 30 here time being to make sure this is not executing. I will tell you why this will not execute. So it is not executing. So why it is not executing? Basically, this is statement. So when we write the statements inside the method, all the statements earlier executed. Now the statements is not executed. The reason because we have the condition on line number 15. So what it is doing if is, so it is doing one validation that boss, if x is less than or equals to y, then only you can execute the below statement, else you cannot execute that statements. That's what we are trying to say. So based upon that state condition, it is not executing the content. So now what I'm doing is, instead of adding this, what I did is I have applied the different condition. If x greater than or equals to y, then you can execute. So now if you see, this will execute this content. So hope you are clear with what is if statement. If is one of the control statement which will use it to apply the condition. So if is one of the control statement, if we use it to apply the one condition. So can we apply the multiple conditions, right? So we'll see whether we can apply the multiple conditions or not. So now I have int z equals to 5. So I wanted to perform an operation saying that, for example, this one. Okay, I wanted to perform an operation, boss, if x or z, something is less than or equals to y, then you can execute it. Okay, so if what it is telling, if x or z, some value is less than or equals to y, you can execute the below statements. That's what we are trying to say. So here we have discussed the two conditions. One is x less than or equals to y, either z less than or equals to y. There is two conditions. We have to apply the two conditions. If first one is satisfied, also we have to execute, or second one also if satisfied, also you can execute. So how to handle this one? Here we have the two conditions. One condition is yes, x less than or equals to y, or z less than or equals to y. If somebody is correct, some statement is correct, you can execute it. Some condition is correct, you can execute it. So in this case, we will go with the R. R stands for, as an English word, R stands for, you aware of it, R. In Telugu, we use it to call Leda. So R stands for, so this R, that, this condition R, this condition. Anything should be fine. One condition satisfy, also you can execute it. So that's what R is saying. X less than or equals to y, or z less than or equals to y, then you execute it. So the first condition is false and second condition is true. Because of the second condition is true, then it is executed. If you are familiar with control systems in engineering, so what we will discuss is, we will have the AND gate and OR gate. So the truth table for AND gate is true plus true equals to true. Okay, true plus false equals to false, and false plus true equals to false, and false plus false equals to false. So this is the AND gate truth table, and OR gate truth table is true plus true equals to true. Okay, and true plus false equals to true, and false plus true equals to true, and false plus false, false plus false, false plus false equals to false. So as per this, the first condition is false and the second condition is truth. So ultimately output is truth. So it will execute it. So if I print this, it is executing and it is giving the output as 55. So if I apply the condition boss y should be greater than or equals to x and greater than or equals to z, then this will not apply because x is greater than or equals to y. If you apply the end condition, it will not execute. If you apply the end condition, it will not execute. The reason because so and if in the end, if you see the end truth table, so the first one is false and the second one is a truth. False plus truth, it is false. If it is a false, then it will not come to this loop. You should always return true, then only it will enter into this loop and the statements will be executed. So this is the end condition and the or condition. What we have understood here is we can apply the condition to execute the statement that we can achieve with the if, right? So how we can apply the multiple conditions with if, that's what we have discussed. Next one we are trying to discuss is nothing is executed, right? If you wanted to execute by default when if condition is not satisfied, we will go with the else. So what is else? So when you wanted to execute something by default, so I wanted to execute some statement. Time being, I am writing this is Nagesh, and if I wanted to execute this content by default, a run and Java application, this is Nagesh will be executed. And what is happening here is, so this is comes to the else loop, and whatever the contents that was present in the else loop, that is executed by default, right? Whatever the contents that was present in the else loop, that was executed by default. So what else is telling? Boss, else is one of the control statement. When if is not satisfied, if you wanted to execute something by default, we will use the else loop. When we wanted to execute something by default, we will use the else loop. What else will do? It will execute some by default statement when the if condition is not satisfied. And very important point for else is, if you don't have the if, you cannot write the else loop. We should have the if loop to execute the else condition. So here, without if condition, you cannot write the else condition. To write the else condition, we should have the if condition, right? It is correct. So now, so what is else if, right? So we will try to see what is else if, right? So else if, so to write the else if also, we should have the if condition. Only else if that you cannot write it. So what is else if, that we'll try to discuss. Okay, so this is on. So else is the by default statement that we are know that. So this is else if to change that statement, else if block. Okay. So here, if you see, this is executing that was present in the else if, perfectly all right. So now what we'll try to see is, here there is an if condition. If x less than or equals to y, you are executing something. If that condition is not satisfied, earlier we are executing the else statement. What else if will do, if the if condition is not satisfied, it will give the one more choice. Boss, you can check the condition, means you can apply the different conditions to execute some certain statements. What that means basically, to execute the statements based upon the different conditions. I have one condition here, I have another condition here. You can write one more else if statement, you can write one more else if, you can write one more else if statement. The content which was we are trying to execute the statement here, we wanted to perform like this. Based upon the conditions inside the statements, our implementation is different. So then we will go with the else if. So we wanted to apply the conditions, different conditions, and based upon the conditions, we are changing the implementation inside that loop. Then we will go with the else if. So to write the else if, we should have the if condition, and you can apply the multiple conditions by using the else if. You can write multiple else if statements. So that is called else if. So now here we can end with the else. Here also, if first statement is not executed and else if second statement is not executed, next third else if is not executed, and by default if you wanted to print some content, you can go with the else. Right? So now we are clear with what is if condition, what is else condition, what is else if condition.